Good morning, Miss Elumeze. How do you do? Josephine, is everything okay?
I'm all right. You, Professor?
I'm good. All right is better than not all right. So I'm always happy to hear when you're all right because I know that you're very careful of the words that you use. So all right to you is spectacular to somebody else. So I wanted to talk with you today about a few things. Um, Starting with your first year seminar experience and then jumping into one of the projects that you did within your first year seminar class. This took place in the spring of 2020. And then springboarding into the work that you are doing now, which happened because you did so well on that assignment within the first year seminar. So if this so is this okay with you? Would you have any objection to the order that I just suggested?
No, I do not.
All right, cool. So when we look to the first year seminar, it is a course that all students who plan on graduating at LaGuardia have to take. There are
Yeah.
different um, sections and types of first year seminar. There are one specific to liberal arts majors. There are first year seminar courses specific to natural science students. You are in the engineering version of
Engineering
life
and computer
science.
science.
Right. So what is your major currently?
My major right now is electrical engineering.
Okay. All right. So right now it's electrical engineering. I know that you said right now. Do you plan on switching anytime soon?
Yes, I plan on switching to environmental engineering. And I do intend to attend a college, transfer to a college with an interdisciplinary academic course planning. Because of when I took your class, I got to know about like interdisciplinary engineering and that just learning different skill sets that will help me um, achieve the specific aspects of engineering I want to focus on. Like I want to do power and go into the power and energy sector. So yeah.
You don't see, you never quite phrased it like that to me before. So me hearing it now, it makes me smile. It makes my spirit smile. So I'm happy that you have an interest in this thing or this set of um of concepts that I have been enjoying for the last 15 years or so. So it's just really remarkable to see that you have an interest in that way. All right. So now, as an engineer in the first year seminar course, the goal is to kind of introduce you to the things that the college has to offer, right? So that's ways to get to take care of financial aid, tutoring, as well as a series of different co-curricular activities, introduction to college resources, how to talk to professors, thinking about time management, right? So what are some of the things in your mind that you feel stood out to you? Um, and first, it could be just stood out to you. It doesn't mean that it had an effect on you automatically, right? And
Mhm.
then another thing is, what is something that actually did have an effect on you that we went over during the first year seminar course? So the first thing, what stood out to you? Second thing, what had an effect on you? They could be the same thing.
Okay, all right. I'll start with I'll just say for me, LaGuardia is like an epitome of resources. So there are so many resources available to students, um, regardless of your background. For the first year seminar, I would say I did not know initially that we had an engineering club. So knowing that there was an engineering club and then receiving resources for them, having to attend few of the meetings. I believe they came up with an internship panel recently. What else stood out to me? I think we also talked about like the financial aid department as well. Um, yes, we did, and I remember I was having issues with my fees. I was having issues with my fees, and that was really helpful at that moment because I was able to like get reach out to them. I believe you told us uh there was like a fair going on in the E building, so I was able to go there and I was able to sort that out and get everything done. So yeah, if I was to start, there are so many things I've learned about LaGuardia, so many resources, to actually like practice what I've learned in class, to actually, uh, I say practice what I've learned in class, as well as gain internships and things that will actually help me build myself in my career and as a person. So, so yeah.
Nice. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So do you feel that being in the online setting, because when we took the class, things got shut down as a result to COVID-19. So we were getting ready to actually have physical classes, and then things, just stopped. Everyone was home. So how do you feel that your engagement was with that class during that time? Like, do you feel that being online took away from your ability to engage in that particular course?
Um, I would say no. I mean, if it was in person, I feel like because I'm someone that loves like being with other people, learning with other people, and just like discussing what I've learned in class. And with the online um class, basically everyone shows up, and immediately the class is over, everyone's off. So that communication just recently I've been and some students have been initiating WhatsApp groups, but during the spring semester it was just new, so no one really thought of that then. Or for the class, I would say no. I had my working laptop. You had amazing presentations. So in terms of learning, understanding the coursework, what I was meant to do, and all that, I would say it was fine. I just missed that in person and one-on-one communication. That was it. But the coursework was great. I understood. I don't think anything was wrong.
Gotcha.
Everything was like perfect for it.
Understood. And by the way, understand that during this conversation here, if there are questions that you have for me as well, then we learn from each other.
All
So
right.
if you said all right a little too fast, like you really have questions that you're about to ask. But yes, but feel free to ask me any question that comes to mind. Do you have any right now?
Okay. Let me just say no. I'm gonna wait.
All right, cool. So within some of the experiences that you had in class that we outlined, um, you also had three assignments. The first one was to investigate, you know, um, the job market within electrical engineering, right?
Yeah.
And to look up a actual job posting, see what the skills were required for that job posting, and then kind of um, re let's say reconfigure your resume as if you were about to apply to that job, right?
Yeah.
After that, we then delved a little bit deeper into the engineering field in assignment two. So in assignment two, which was connected to assignment one, it was okay, you have an idea of the salary that electrical engineers have, not only electrical engineers, right? Because in the class, there were also mechanical engineers,
Yeah.
civil engineers as well. But now that you have this understanding of the salary, the kind of tasks that are required of electrical engineers, went into assignment number 2, which was to investigate a peer-reviewed article for your particular field, and then look at the structure of how experiments are outlined, right? And how the journal article is from the beginning to the end. So we start with the title, and then the abstract, and then the introduction, the methods, procedures, right? The results, the analysis of the results, a discussion slash conclusion, and then references. So when you did the second assignment, what are some of your thoughts about that approach? Had you looked at peer-reviewed articles before? Had you structured your lab reports to fit that mold? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say what I've learned during that class was really fundamental. Because like it's before taking that class, I had never done like analyzed a peer review research paper. I didn't know the format of how to present um, a research paper. The only experience I had was like the chemistry lab, and that wasn't exactly, I didn't put it in that format, it was just answering questions or basically um, typing up the what I noticed during the experiments. I'm actually happy I did that because in terms of research with you and even like my in the fall, the classes I took, which was the honors class for engineering lab, as well as the class I'm taking for thermodynamics. It's been really helpful in understanding like the format to use, how to do my cover page, the abstract, introduction, and all that, how to basically um, the format in which I meant to use for my research papers. So yes, I would say it was very enlightening. I'm glad that I took a class. I'm glad that that was introduced because if it wasn't at that stage, I think I would have had a lot of problems right now. Uh, so like working, I know like in my current class, working in a group, um, with the experience I had from the class, I'm able to say, okay, no, we need to cite this properly. We need to use APA style. We need to do this. We need to do that. Just because I took your class and just because I was able to like get that experience of how research papers are and also how to analyze like um, research papers, like the peer-reviewed research papers. I never did that before. I've always been used to textbooks, so getting that experience has helped me a lot so far. How to analyze, how to like pick up details, and also summarize what I've learned in like a paper.
Excellent. I'm glad. And let me also add that you summarize peer-reviewed papers extremely well now. I know that I asked you to summarize 2 recently, and I'm sure that they're going to be superb when I look at them, just because of what you've shown me your capabilities are in the past. So I look forward to reading those, and I really look forward to reading those. I'm not just saying it. Um, After assignment number 2, that led into assignment number 3. All the assignments are scaffolded or connected to one another, right?
Yeah.
So the third assignment was to investigate pollution via a particle known as an aerosol. So for those of you guys who are tuning in, who have heard the term aerosol before, but aren't really sure of what an aerosol is. And we hear about aerosol cans and aerosol sprays, and it's true, those are aerosols. An aerosol by itself is any particle that could suspend in the air. Okay, so that could be dust, that could be the evaporation from sea salt, that could be um, industrial particles, it could be carbon-based particles, it could be um, you know, exhaust from an engine, and from the smokestacks of industry as well. So all of these are different types of aerosols. You have natural sources and anthropogenic or human-made that or aerosols that occur from the result of human activity, and those are known as anthropogenic. So with this being the case, let me think about how I want to ask this. Yes. So with this being the case for aerosols, you were asked to delve into aerosols not only in New York City, right when things got shut down due to COVID, right? We wanted to
Yeah.
see whether the amount of aerosols would have decreased because we have less human activity going on around that time in the cities, less cars driving supposedly, right? But you also looked at
Yeah.
aerosols back where your grandparents are from and where you're from, and as a class where everybody was from in the class, right? So can you speak a little bit about that assignment, where you are actually from, and what you kind of learned and extracted from that assignment?
Okay, so I am from Nigeria, which is in Africa. It's I think it's quite popular. So anyway, moving on. So before I would say I only had like base knowledge on like climate change, like you said, aerosol cans and all that. But taking the class and having to do that project helped me know more about what aerosols are, that they could be actually natural and they could actually be caused by humans as well. Um, like you said, in terms of natural, like the sea salt, then the dust, in terms of human made, um, like from industries and things like that. So finding out how it connected with how it affected the climate as well was quite interesting. And then the project we did or you assigned to us was basically we got to look at New York City, like you said, the aerosol optical depth in New York City using NASA Aeronet, the
So
website.
before you move on, what
Yeah.
is astrological depth for people who don't know?
Okay.
What information does it give you?
What? Okay. So for aerosol optical depth, how do I put it in? All right. So it's basically in layman's language or in something easy to understand. Should I say just the depth of the aerosol? So yeah, so the
So
depth of the aerosol. Okay.
no, right. So absolutely correct. So pretty much the depth of aerosol, or the extent to which solar energy can transmit through the atmosphere due to the amount of aerosols, which is a
Yeah.
depth. Right? And so when you see higher values of aerosol optical depth or aerosol optical thickness, it indicates that there are a lot more aerosols in the atmosphere, or there is a higher amount of pollution in certain
Yeah.
areas, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to tease out what you were thinking in your mind. So please
All
continue.
right. Okay, so yeah, so I got to look at in the project, I got to look at New York City as well as where I'm from, like I said, Nigeria. I looked for a satellite station there, and the only one we have is in Ilorin. So just getting to do like work on compare New York City, which is where I was currently living, and where I'm from, Nigeria was it was really exciting. So I was very interested in doing the project. So using NASA Aeronaut, the website, we were able to find the aerosol optical depth for each of the cities. So New York City and Ilorin is a city in a state called Kwara in a country called Nigeria. So we're able to look at New York City and Ilorin, and there are different levels to um, aerosol optical depth. So we looked at the level 1.5, and where we were able to analyze in class. She taught us how to analyze the type of aerosol. So like we mentioned before, there are different kind of aerosols, generated. With the Aeronet website, it's giving, you're able to identify it. There's a chart given and different colors are assigned to it. And you're able to, I think green was for like organic fossils. I think blue was, yeah, blue is for like sea salt. Dust was brown, and there are other types of aerosols attributed to other types of colors. So looking at the intensity of the depth of the aerosols, I was able to gather, okay, in New York City, which aerosol was the highest, has the highest depth, which in Ilorin, which is in Nigeria, which city had the highest depth, which also had the highest depth. Um, so yeah, it was really fun just trying to identify that and compare both cities, um, the aerosols in both cities. In New York City, I believe it was more of industrial fumes, though we were in lockdown, it was more of industrial fumes, and I kind of agreed with that because we were still like new to the lockdown. We just shut down the city, and wasn't complete. And but in Nigeria, the aerosol optical depth, which was more, was sea salt. So I was kind of new to aerosol and all that. I was kind of like, well, that might not necessarily be true because I know it's not exactly a place with many water bodies, and it will be more of dust. But yeah, it was for the Aeronaut website, it was more of sea salt. But it
That's
was really fun doing the experiment and comparing.
that's interesting, and it was fun to read it too. I think that when you look at the site of interest in Nigeria, Ilorin, you had said that it's not surrounded by a lot of water, but there is some water by it, and then you
Yeah.
also said that the wind patterns have an effect on where the aerosols are coming from and where they're going to. So
Yeah.
that was a very amazing analysis that you were able to express on that level. And that's what had you, in my mind, hired from to do the next part of your work, right? So before we get into your project, right, that you're doing now, your research project that you're doing now, um, would you say that assignment 3 connected to your desire to switch from electrical into environmental? If so, why? If not, when was the changeover?
I would say definitely. So when I was looking into like going into the power and energy sector and choosing my major, I was like, oh, it's going to be mostly strictly electrical. So I'm going to be dealing with electrical components and all that. So I was like, okay, that's the major to pick. Um, so going further and taking your class and actually doing that project and finding out that aerosols actually affect the climate, which can like we discussed now, we talked about aerosol optical depths and how the increase in the aerosol optical depth or the intensity in the increase in intensity of the aerosol optical depth. Um, so the increase in aerosol optical depth equates to like is correlated to like the decrease in amount of radiation that comes into the earth. Um, so that has connections with what I intend to do. Like I intend to do go into the power and energy sector. So letting that, oh, I can't just because um okay, so little background on why I chose to go into the power and energy sector. I don't know, at the beginning of this, I'm actually in Lagos, Nigeria. So at the beginning of this session, I think like if you could hear like a small noise, yeah, that was a generator on. That was because we didn't have power at that moment. So growing up, I don't know where I knew that from, but I always knew like you could use the power from the sun and to like generate energy. And I'm like, sometimes I go out and like the sun is like really hot, like extremely hot. Like you can fry an egg on the floor. So why can't we just use this to have stable power in the society instead of like no constant power? I'm like, if and then I hadn't moved to New York, so I'm like, okay, if they can do it and they have like crazy weather, they have snow, they have rainfall most of the time, and although yeah, it can be hot, really hot sometimes, but their weather is diverse and they're able to achieve like 24-hour power supply, constant power supply. I mean, why can't we do it? So my mindset back then was like, okay, so solar energy is the way to go and all that. Go into the power industry, power and energy industry and just focus on that. But doing this project made me realize I can't just jump into a conclusion like that. Actually factors that affected just like the aerosol. So I was like, okay, I actually need to do research on this and actually enjoy doing research on this. So I was like, okay, it's time to change my major and make it align with what I actually want to do. So yeah, that was the moment that made me want to change to environmental. So I didn't want to do the change now at LaGuardia and mess up my whole like plan, my whole course plan. So like, when you transfer, start doing work on it now, learn about it now. When you transfer, go into it full time.
I think that's remarkable. That's an incredible pathway, an incredible story, and I think that everyone hearing you talk realizes that you are a star. All right, so incredible mind. The way that you think is amazing. All right, so we went through the pathway of all of the assignments, right? And you alluded to the fact that you're currently doing some research, and it relates. And from me hearing you talk, it seems to relate. Study of aerosols, also solar energy. What else can you give us some more information about what is included in your current research?
Well, I would say current research sparked for um, a recent dust event that happened in June 2020. I I don't know if New York City, like most people in New York City, wouldn't have like experienced what happened in full effect. But in June 2020, there was like a large dust plume from was a large dust plume from northern Africa, the Saharan Desert region, and it goes all the way to the Caribbean and even Gulf of Mexico. And it actually affected states like Texas, where there was this huge noticeable dust plume. Like we said before, like aerosols are, in terms of radius, they can range from like 1 to 1,000 nanometers. So they're like really tiny. So you don't necessarily have to like see them in the environment with your physical eyes because they're microscopic. So this dust event affected Texas so bad that it was noticeable in the environment, like you could actually see it. And in other places, like in Africa itself, like Dakar, Senegal, and some places in the Caribbean as well, Cuba, um, Havana, Cuba. So yeah, that was actually the genesis of it. I apparently there have been during the research, I've noted that there have been series of um, dust plumes like that happening, dust events and dust plumes happening over the years, but I never saw, I never knew about it um, until now. So that was the genesis of it. Looking into that alone, because I'm not only looking into power in Nigeria itself, although that's where I want to start from. I'm also looking at power in the whole Africa. And this affects the northern part of Africa. So looking into it, we decided to look into how it affects sunlight, how it affects precipitation, what's the correlation between dust, which is a type of aerosol, and like precipitation, as well as dust and sunlight, as well as all of them together. Like I said, I was looking into growing up, I was always like, solar energy is the way and all that. So realizing this, I'm like, okay, this is the problem. Does it really affect like sunlight radiation coming in, and will we still be able to use like solar um, energy for like northern part of Africa? But looking into it so far, um, even the panels itself, the surface of the panels, when you have a lot of dust in the area and you have it on top of the panel, it affects the amount of radiation that's able to should I say touch? So I'm gonna like use it in like layman's language. So it affects the amount of sunlight that it's gonna touch the panel. So if a lot of dust is covering the panel, there isn't going to be enough sunlight or enough light for the panel to work with. And then I also learned about things of how precipitation can actually make it worse. So in precipitation, in sense of like water bodies in the atmosphere, so it can come in form of like rain, hail, snow, and all that. So in Africa, we don't have snow, so we have usually rain. I learned about blood rain, how the dust can actually the dust in the environment can actually mix with water and then touch the solar panels, and that makes it way worse, causing like this kind of, that's why they call it blood rain, like this kind of reddish mixture on the surface of the panels. So I think I'm talking too much, but the project so far has been really enlightening. I've had so many eureka moments, especially from what I learned in the first engineering seminar. And what I'm currently doing is like, oh, this clicks with this, that clicks with that. And yeah, the project is going good so far.
I would say so. I would say it's going superbly. So you just gave a masterful breakdown of the work that you're doing. But you also said that for the June 2020 major dust event, right? Like we always get dust events, as you said, but that one was pretty extreme. That one was
Yeah.
no joke, right? So if the pathway is from the Sahara Desert across the Caribbean region and then through to the Gulf of Mexico, right? And we see these massive dust plumes, then if we look at your work now and you talking about correlating rainfall, dust, and solar energy, which of those regions are you looking at?
Okay, so I'm actually looking at the three regions I mentioned initially. So that's Northern Africa, where that's where the whole event is going down. That's the genesis. So that's where the Sahara Desert is. I'm also looking at the Caribbean in June 2020 and other years. Dust from Northern Africa actually affects the Caribbean, and like I said, in places like Cuba, as well as the Gulf of Mexico, um, with places like border of Texas and all that. So yeah, I'm looking at those three regions right now.
Okay, and what kind of software or techniques are you using to establish your correlations?
I would say qualitative analysis, like basically starting from, okay. So I use it other to, so I'm talking about dust and how it affects it. So what I'm using to actually get my data source is NASA Giovanni. So basically is this amazing website or amazing platform by NASA, where they have like different measurements, so you can find out like aerosol optical depth, thickness, whatever you're looking for, as well as precipitation if it pertains to rainfall, snow, or whatever you're looking for. And in my case, I'm looking at precipitation. I'm also looking at aerosol of different measurements for um, dust, like aerosol optical depth. I'm looking at the dust mass concentration and other measurements, as well as radiation, irradiance. Yeah. long and short. So I use NASA Giovanni to actually get data from that, like numerical data from that, as well as map correlations. So basically, the map correlations are like, it's a map, but now it's color coded. There's a chart, there's a scale rather, that's color coded and graded according to numbers. So -1 is blue, and then different shades of blue until you get to red, which is +1. So on the map correlation once it's negatively correlated in the sense that one once one measurement is increasing, the other one is decreasing. So that's the -1 or negative. So I see on the map correlation, on the map itself, you see some regions that are blue. So that's what it means. But if you see some regions that are slightly red, going yellow, orange, red, it's a positive correlation. So basically, as one measurement is increasing, the other is decreasing. In terms of radiation and precipitation, I have one is increasing, one is decreasing. So that's a blue. The region will be blue. So yeah, I use NASA Giovanni to get the map correlation, to get the actual data, and then I use Excel to find the correlation uh, for to find the correlation for like two measurements at the same time. Then I use the formula for multiple regression to find for the three at the same time. So multiple regression is like this kind of, it's a type of analysis where you compare like one measurement to like three, how the three are interwoven, how they connect, how they correlate. So one, you have like one X and then two Ys and all that. So I was able to.
So let me jump in really quick. So
Okay.
you start talking about X's and Y's. A lot of people are scared of math and don't.
It's not that hard. There's a formula.
There
You're
is a
just plugging.
it is a formula, but let's just note that. So the amazing thing is that you've learned all of this, or learned to do these things in a relatively short period of time. Some of the things, as we hear you talking, that you're expressing in an amazing way, take years to be able to express and to understand, right? So it is a serious um, gem that you are able to express things in this way. And you started doing this work as a first year student, correct?
Yes.
Right. And now you are in your second year, correct?
Yes. Second year.
Okay. Right.
Last semester.
And so that being the case, there's so many different interesting things that have been discussed today. But I think that we can extend this conversation into a final thought. And I'll preface it in this way. Moving forward, right? And you're thinking about the research that you're currently doing, you're thinking about your future path in life as an entrepreneur or otherwise, an engineer and other things. Where from now? Where do you go from here?
Okay. Well, with the work I've been doing, and I've actually found out what I love doing. Once I transfer, I still intend to do research. Um, like I said before, I thought solar energy was the way for Africa. I'm like, oh, that's the savior, our savior for the power um, issue in the continent. But with the research so far, I see different types of climates, different types of aerosols, different types of factors, synoptic factors that could actually affect using solar panels. So in terms of Northern Africa, solar panels would be a definitely no-no because of the dust in the environment. So I intend to continue doing research on um, other renewable energy resources that I can use for power generation. Um, so that's where I am so far. I intend to continue my research and get like an internship either with Con Edison. Hopefully this gets to them and they hear this. Um, hopefully get an internship with Con Edison to actually experiment more and see how I can actually practice and develop should I say devices that will actually help. As well as I've seen some places in Nigeria where I can I can partner with or maybe even start my own company um, to continue my research and work. Yeah.
Excellent. Um, so where do you think you might be transferring to? I know that you had several schools that you and I discussed over the last few months. So what are some of the possibilities?
Um, Yale actually. So I'm really first choice is Yale. And actually today's my birthday. And I'm just looking like maybe they are gonna be like really dramatic and be like, oh, okay, let's admit her or let's send her an acceptance letter on her birthday. So I've been really checking my portal since 12
Mhm.
just to see if I get accepted today. Maybe they want to be dramatic. But anyway, yeah, my first choice is Yale. But I got into Stony Brooks. If that doesn't if Yale, which will if I don't get accepted to Yale, which I will, um, backup is Stony Brooks.
Excellent. And
Ah,
at that, I'm here to continue to be part of your journey.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
And so, it's been a pleasure thus far. More people know that it's great to work with you. Somehow, I think Con Edison might get the message. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for letting me be here. Talk about my experience in your class.
Absolutely.